All right, what is up, my people? Back again for another review. And today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the latest episode of Tulsa King. We are in season 3. This is episode 3 entitled The G and the OG. So before I get into my thoughts slash review of the episode, I got to give a score. And if you're new to the channel, the scoring system is 0 to 5, 0 being trash and 5 being a masterpiece. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5. That was a good episode. Now, like I said, if you're new to the channel, please, if you like what I'm hearing and you want to help me out, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And of course, when the video's over, leave some comments and hit that like. It'll be much appreciated. So with that business out of the way, let's go ahead and let's get into the episode. So I kind of broke this down into three stories that I'm going to go over. And the first one I'm going to go over is Dwight and Agent Musso. Dwight has actually been on his first mission. He has been called upon by Special Agent Musso. And this takes them on a road trip to Dallas, Texas, where they will make contact with a Deacon Dexter, aka the watchmaker, played by the great Dallas Roberts. Musso, of course, he needs Dwight to be Dwight, to do his Dwight thing. Because of Dwight's background as a mobster and, a street guy, he's going to use that to gain the trust of Deacon. Because if he he feels this guy is too smart. If he sent an agent in, he would be able to sniff him out right away, and he wouldn't be able to make any headway. So eventually Dwight makes contact with Deacon. And of course, right away, Deacon's able to determine that, either Dwight is working with the feds or he knows some people in low places, because he refers to him as his government name. And so he knows right away, this guy knows a thing or two about me. So he's either on the right side or that other side of the law. And so Dwight kind of tells him, hey, here's the deal. Google me. I'm Dwight Manfredi. Google me and I'll see you around. And so right then and there, they're those two are definitely gonna link up again, because you wouldn't bring an actor of that stature on the show just to have I think he was on that show maybe for about 3 or 4 minutes tops, and then we don't see him again. So it'll be interesting to see. I have a theory of what's gonna happen. I think there's been a little bit of foreshadowing, and I'll get to that here in a second though. But Dwight clocks what's going on with this mission, because he's like, before they go, Musso's talking about how much of a scumbag this guy is, how dangerous he is, how he's killed women and children. He's just not a good guy. He's a bad guy. And so Dwight starts to, like I said, Dwight clocks this and goes, yo, I mean, if he's that bad, where's your task force? You're just sending me in there. And Musso, all he says is this is personal. Like I said, Dwight knows this is off the books for a reason. So is he a disgraced agent? I think he might be somewhat disgraced, and he's trying to earn his way back to maybe the status that he had. And by taking down some big hitters, this will, put him back to where he wants to be. That's my theory. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking, but I think that's what's going on here. Because, like, he brings up a good point. Where is your task force? But like I said, possible foreshadowing. There's a moment where they're driving and they're speeding, and they get pulled over by a police, probably a state trooper. And Dwight does his Dwight thing, and he's able, to get these guys a break. And he hooks up the officer with some Thunder tickets. And I'm thinking that might be what's going to happen with this the watchmaker, this Deacon Dexter. I think Dwight's going to find a way to bring him around and be on his team, because that's just what Dwight does. I mean, they call him the general, but I think you should call him the great conciliator, because, man, he just brings things. He brings people and brings things together. So that's pretty much it as far as that trip to Dallas. There's definitely more. There's going to be more to that, because we're only 3 episodes in. And like I said, they're not going to bring Dallas Roberts on just to be on a cameo for 3 or 4 minutes. So, all right, moving on to the next story. we're going to talk about Cleo and Mitch. So in this story, Mitch takes Cleo out, takes her out for a drive, kind of tries to bring back some great memories for her. Because if you remember, her dad was burned to death in his house, burned to ashes in his own house. And so he's trying to take her mind off of it. And then, of course, the incidents that happened in the last episode where Cole and his goons tried to come and take Mitch out. So, he takes her out for a drive, kind of to let her blow off some steam. And we start to see bits and bits of her kind of becoming reckless. Like they end up going to a convenience store and she starts randomly stealing things. And, right away, Mitch is like, he's feeling a little uneasy about this. Like, he knows something's, she's about to explode. He just knows it. And so eventually this leads them to her driving to the Dunmire residence. And she pulls up, starts doing donuts in the front in the grass and everything. And Mitch is trying to tell her, man, this is going to end in one or two ways. Like, you're going to get us killed, And so eventually there is a confrontation with Jeremiah Dunmire. He comes out and meets her. And she just puts it out there like, I know you killed my dad, basically, and I'm gonna get my get back or whatever. And so, Jeremiah gives him a pass. He basically said, okay, or whatever, but basically tells him, tells Mitch, take her and get her the fuck out of here. And he also gives Mitch a message like, you should watch the company you keep, which he's referring to, he's referring to Dwight. So they leave and they're driving. And Mitch, I love this part. Mitch makes it very, very clear. Like, look, you're what you're doing, you're gonna mess this all up. And I think I can see both sides of it. I lean more to Mitch, but the reason why she's doing what she's doing is because she even says earlier that I don't know if I can trust Dwight. But Mitch kind of breaks it down to her like, look, yes, he's a felon. He served his time. And Mitch is like, that's me. I did that. I did all that. Like, he's like basically telling her like, look, I trust the guy. You should trust him too. He gets things done. And, he's letting her know that again, but he's being very stern with her this time, telling her, look, you are putting everyone and everything at risk. And if you continue to do that and you can't understand that and you don't see it, he's like, let her, we're going to take care of the Dunmires, but you got to have a little patience. You got to have a little patience. And if you can't understand that, then me and you are strangers. And she gets on board. She gets on board with the program and is like, I don't want that to happen. I want us to stay good. So I think Cleo, she got it out of her and we're going to be good. And so now transitioning to the last part of the episode, or the last story I'm going to discuss, is of Tyson, that dumbass Tyson, and the rest of the crew. So basically, before Dwight leaves on his mission with Musso, he tells the group, look, we kind of got a target on us with the Dunmires, but we need to lay low, keep a low profile. Let's travel together in twos, like nobody travel alone. And basically patience, everybody patience. Like, don't do nothing until it's time. And Dwight will be the one to let you know when it's time. And so Dwight leaves, and of course, immediately after he leaves, this dude Tyson is walking back and forth. We should pick a fight with them Dunmire bitches or whatever. And Goody's even telling him like, look, when the skipper gives an order, you follow the order or whatever. And so, of course, Tyson ain't trying to hear that. The second Goody leaves, he's like, he wants to go do some recon. He wants to go do some recon on Cole and the Dunmires. And so Grace, she goes ahead and says, let's do it. And Bodie reluctantly goes along with them. And so they're staking them out. First of all, in a fucking Tesla truck or whatever, but anyway, and Tyson, it's bulletproof, which a little bit of foreshadowing, but they eventually follow, they follow Cole after he finishes working out. and they think they're about to pull up on some major operation, and what it turns out to be, it's a bingo hall. A bunch of people playing bingo, and so they're in there, and like I said, they're watching Cole and Grace. Luckily, Grace ends up calling Goody, and Goody shows up on scene, and Goody right away is able to figure out the scam that's going on. Basically, they have plants inside the bingo game, and they're basically stealing money from all these elderly people. And so once Goody figures that out, Goody and the Tyson, they end up winning. And of course, Cole's pissed. He doesn't want to pay him, but they like, hey, you're not gonna pay us in front of your other potential winners? That doesn't look good. So they end up getting one on Cole. And Cole lets them know, hey, this ain't over. This ain't over. And so they take their money and they go to the strip club and they celebrate. And so you have Goody, Bodie, and Grace that are like, hey, it's time to call it a night. Let's get out of here. Dwight will be back soon. And of course, Tyson, because he ends up one of the strippers named Serenity, he ends up in the champagne room. And while he's in the champagne room, he's in there with the stripper Serenity, and they share a moment of connection together. And not for very long, because Cole pops up in the champagne room and ups the blicky up on Tyson, and him and his goons, they bag him and Serenity up. Now, for a second, I thought Serenity was working for him, and I don't think she is, though. I don't think she is. I mean, she could be, but I don't, after watching it again, I don't think she was. But anyway, so they beating on him, trying to get details of where the 50 is being stored. And even though Tyson, I've grown to not like the character. It's just, I've said in my previous review, I mean, he's got this Arrested Development shit going on, but hey, he stood tall. They was putting the hands to feet to him and beating the shit out of him, but he wouldn't give it up. He even at one point said, y'all gonna have to kill me. And that's when it was revealed that they bagged up Serenity, and they was like, hey, we'll kill her if you don't give it up. And of course, of course, Tyson, he folded. He ended up telling them the location. At one point they put him in the back of which this doesn't make, it, like I said, the foreshadowing about the bulletproof Tesla truck, because they put him in the back of there, and then they started shooting it, and it was bulletproof, of course. And so I was thinking, well, maybe they might set the shit on fire, because these motherfuckers like setting shit on fire, but they didn't. They let him live. When one, you could have just shot him. You could have just shot him when you had him outside, but you had to put him in the trunk and then go, what are we going to do with him? And, Cole was like, I don't care. And then they shoot it. And then if you're shooting a gun, you'll know if nothing's going through. I don't, it is what it is. It is what it is. But Tyson survives, and he lets the group know what happened. And the episode ends with Dwight basically saying, they're going to pay for this. Dunmire, and the Dunmires are going to pay for this. So before I get out of here, there was one more thing that was mentioned, Armand. So we find out that, initially we thought Armand was going to visit, he was going to visit his family, which he planned to do. But what we find out through his wife is that he's missing. He's missing. His apartment is cleaned out. He never showed up to see his boys. He's missing. Nobody knows where he is. And so that's going to be an interesting plot to figure out what that's all about, because Armand is a wild card. You don't know if he's fully in with Dwight, or he might be working another angle. He's unpredictable. You just don't know. So it'll be interesting to see what comes with that. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this one. Like I said, solid episode. But yeah, like I always say, guys, if it's for 1 minute, 5 minutes, the whole damn video, I appreciate you guys taking time every day to view my content. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe, smash the like, get in the comments, and let me know, what did you guys think about this episode? And with that being said, everybody, it's your boy P sign off, and guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.